brag on it and release operational details to make themselves look tough.
Well,
and nobody criticized him for doing that. Now Trump is bragging,
right?
People are saying, "Oh, that's terrible."
Yeah.
He died like a dog.
Yeah.
He did die like a dog.
Yeah.
Chased by a dog.
Right.
Only a dog wouldn't have taken children into jail.
Right.
What Trump said was true.
Exactly. And you brought up an interesting point in how the Obama administration constantly, and Joe Biden and Dianne Feinstein and Chuck Schumer, these morons constantly bragged about our confidential, secretive forces. In fact, they bragged so much about SEAL Team 6 that the people came out and said, quit talking about us. You're putting our families and our lives in danger.
Exactly.
Why in the hell are you on TV talking about us and what we do?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Most people that live in red states or in areas with any kind of patriotic background have family members who serve in the military, and all those military members are put at risk when people talk about this. And when they talk about specialized elite groups like that, president and vice president, policymakers, secretary, and say, well, this unit did that. Well, then they activate their sleeper agents in states who live in those areas and say, go attack this fort, go attack this air base, go attack this Navy base. That's where they are.
No, go to the supermarket. No, go to the supermarket. Go to the supermarket. Go to the gas station. That's where you hurt people. People in the military expect to be hurt. Their lives are at risk. But when you hurt my family, you go after my family. I'm not. That hurts me. You blow me up. You blow up my comrade in arms. Hey, that's what we do. But you blow up my kid, you blow up my wife, you threaten my wife, you shoot my, that's a different story. And these people, if it were left up to Hillary Clinton, the Obama administration, open borders, all you hear the media talking about when they talk about the southern border are people coming up from Mexico and Guatemala and Honduras and those places. What they're not talking about is the Africans who are coming through the southern border and the Chinese who are coming through the southern border. We have stopped that to a trickle, and they do not, for whatever reasons, I cannot understand for the life of me why Democrats do not want to close the southern border when, and let me say this, and see, this is where my Republican colleagues infuriate me, because they refuse to deal with Black Republicans like me, who've been lifelong Republicans and been around the party for years. The bottom line here is, and no Democrat who's turned Republican is going to tell you this. No Black Democrat who's turned Republican. The bottom line is, the U.S. My political godfather was a man named Art Fletcher. He was assistant Secretary of Labor under Nixon, and he held various offices under Ford, Bush, and Reagan, all high-level positions, PA appointments. And he said that illegal immigration, as well as legal immigration, was impacting Black Americans in the pursuit of the American dream. Now, the person who opened up our country to foreigners and to this mass immigration was Ted Kennedy when he sponsored the Immigration Act of 1965. Now, I don't have any. There is no love lost for Ted Kennedy, just like Elijah Cummings. Bart, they call Elijah Cummings the great civil rights icon. The bottom line is, when the reality is, I should say, when Elijah Cummings was 12, 13 years old, and I was 11, 12 myself. He's a year older than me, even though he looks 10, 15 years older than me.
Yeah, I was surprised at how young he was. I thought he was 80.
No question. And the guy And so the civil rights movement ended in 63, 64, roughly. Okay. What civil rights legislation did or civil rights acts did Elijah Cummings support? He wasn't. He wasn't. He didn't even write on the code. There was nothing done. If you want to point out his promotion of homosexuality, LGBT crap, that's fine. But that's all he's done. I mean, you look at his district. His district, the east and west side of Baltimore, is a war zone by any definition. His if you go to his congressional district, it's worse than anything I've seen in Somalia or Nigeria or Uganda. That's it's worse in his districts than it is in those countries. Am I lying? I mean, correct me if I am.
No, they are no for most people. You don't go there because they're overrun by drug gangs.
No question.
They're overrun by criminals.
So
And the people suffering aren't the white people of Baltimore.
right,
They moved away.
right.
The black people of Baltimore that are suffering. And so I agree. I don't like to speak ill of the dead. I was taught in bad manners. They're not here to defend themselves. So I won't say any more. But I agree that you don't see. I did not see an improvement in the lives of his constituents
Bart,
during his tenure in Congress.
Bart, I want to
I'll put it in polite. That's the most polite way I can put it.
Bart, I want to say this about what you just said about speaking ill of the dead. Elijah Cummings is not just another person. Elijah Cummings was a public servant who took public dollars for over 40 years. He was a public servant. He was on the taxpayer tit. He had a job to do. His legacy is what it is. And I will call out his legacy for what it was. It was pathetic. It was sorry. It was corrupt. This man collected a check every 2 damn weeks. People in his district suffered. They're dying. They're miseducated. They're undereducated. Children don't have a chance to pursue the damn American dream. I'm sorry, but I don't have anything. I'm just telling Elijah Cummings' legacy for what it really is.
No argument. And I'll tell you, his wife is still there. And I would like to see an investigation into the so-called foundation that she runs, that, as I understand it from the newspaper, majority of the money donated to the foundation comes from people that have companies that have business before Elijah Cummings. They donated to her foundation. Her foundation hires her consulting companies or consulting contracts or other.
Uh-huh.
I'm no expert, but it's only my opinion, and I think it's wrong.
Well, she's still alive. Uh-huh. 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 Now, well, yeah, I would too. But this is a lady whose history in Washington, D.C. is questionable at best. She came out of nowhere. She went to work as a just a regular office worker for Rangel, Charlie Rangel, who was a crook. Yeah, total crook. I mean, if anybody else had done what he'd done as a regular citizen, they would have been in jail. Instead, they censored him in the House and said, "Don't run again, Charlie. Charlie, we're going to censor you, Charlie. We're not going to put you in jail. We're not going to embarrass you, and we're going to allow you to retire." Okay, so that's how they handle Charlie Rangel. I have no love lost for Charlie Rangel because he stabbed Adam Clayton Powell in the back when he took on the way to taking his seat. Because they needed to get Adam Clayton Powell out of the way because they couldn't get him on corruption. the guy was a thorn in the side of legislators and presidents, and said, "Hey, wait a minute, you need to share some of this corporate money with Black Americans. They pay taxes too. So when you look at Adam Clayton Powell's legislative prowess, he was supposed to be one of the most prolific legislators we had. It was because he always attached a clause to appropriations bills that said you need to have so many Black workers, so many Black employees, so many Black contractors, etc. So anyway, that aside, I have no love lost for Charlie Rangel either. But she became Charlie Rangel's chief of staff after 2 or 3 years. And as was pointed out to me, there are people in Washington, D.C. who've been in Washington working as staffers, great support folks who've never become chief of staff. And this woman was like in Charlie's office 2 or 3 years, and she emerges as the chief of staff of one of the most powerful men in the Congress at the time. Okay, so I don't, no one knows. That's the whole thing. That's the whole, like you're talking about the foundation, Bart. No one knows, and this is the thing that, excuse me, this is the thing that we focus on, that we're looking at, and it's not being disrespectful to Elijah Cummings. I had the pleasure of meeting with Elijah Cummings and his chief of staff in 2003. Elijah was the chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus. J.C. Watts had created something called the Congressional Task Force on HBCUs. And we worked diligently on getting those schools funded. One of the first things that President Bush did in 2001, when he took office, was to increase funding to HBCUs by 12%. He did that right off the bat. He did that in February of 2001. And I always tell people, don't take my word for it, look it up. Black colleges have always done better under Republican presidents. Any HBCU president will tell. But see, this is the problem. This is the problem, Bart. How do we get that out? It's like, I'm here in Chicago. Trump is here tonight. I've got to hustle and try to get to a fundraiser to get to Trump, because I'm telling you, this guy has done so much for people. He's done so much for not only America, but especially Black people. And when people try to acknowledge it, they get shouted down, they get called names. One of my friends, right. Well, well, not on, well, a lot of them do. They live in their wards. But they live in their wards. But the interesting thing is, Well, that's a great question, Bart. Yeah, but Bart, one of the things we need to focus on, there are a lot of things going on. And I can tell you that just the little that President Trump has done in these 3 years has made an immense difference. One of the things I want to point out to you, and maybe you can help me with this, we have three different facilities in Chicago that are supporting undocumented children. Right in the middle of the Black community, there's a facility that's warehousing about 900 undocumented children that came across the border. They feed them, they clothe them, they send them to schools, they bus them to schools, they bus them to their after school activities, they tutor them, all on the taxpayer dime. Now where these facilities are right in the middle of war zones, and these children, none of them. I go over there and I'm watching. I did this several times this summer, like 3 or 4 times this summer, and nobody messes with these kids going back and forth to the bus or anything else. However, the children that live there, the Black children that live in this community, are hassled by the gang members, are shot at by gang members. Now, none of these little Latino kids are harassed or shot or raped or, just the Black kids in the neighborhood. What does that say about what's going on? Why do Black politicians think it's so important? Why do these Democrat Black politicians think it's so important to put Black criminals back in our communities? They keep talking about Black men. Well, there are a lot of Black men who are not incarcerated and haven't had a first chance, and they're pushed way down the line. It's just like in school. I used to have a local radio show, and I would have young people come on my show, young successful students come on my radio show, come by the studio, and they all had the same theme. The good kids are pushed to the back. The bad kids get all the attention. And that's what's wrong that's one of the things that's wrong with the Black community, is that we aspire to working with the lowest denominator. When you work with the worst of the worst, you're going to get what? The worst. If you work with the cream of the crop, yeah, when you work with the cream of the crop, you get better. So we have these people who are all focused on these knuckleheads instead of rounding their little asses up and taking them to the middle of the lake in a boat and sinking it, just get rid of them. They would rather spend time. Oh, he didn't have a daddy. So what? Does that make him a knucklehead? It's like the kid who got shot, Laquan McDonald. Yeah, he got shot 16 times, but the guy was walking around like he was obviously high and out of his mind. But guess what? Hey, dude, you see the lights, get down on the ground, get handcuffed, and live. The guy who shot him was absolutely wrong. But if he done what the cops told him, the half hour prior to this dude showing up, he wouldn't have got shot. And see, people can talk about if I coulda, woulda, shoulda. What? What? What?
The first thing you do is turn off the car, and you turn on nighttime, turn on your dome light, inside your car,
Mm-hmm.
and you keep both hands on top of that steering wheel.
Mm-hmm.
Never take them off the steering wheel.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that the cop my kids are white.
Mm-hmm. No, but
And I said, that cop walks up to your car, and for all he knows, he doesn't know who you are.
right,
He doesn't know whether you cheated or whether you speed or whether you're a heroin.
right,
He's walking up to that car, and maybe last night he shot.
right,
Walked up to the car.
right,
You keep your hand on top of the steering wheel,
right,
and you wait for him to tell you what to do. When he says license and registration, please, you say, all right, my registration is my glove box. So you reach over and get it and tell him, or you move your hand. That's what I tell my kids.
right.
And because it's not, and it's not because of race, it's
Mhm.
because that cop doesn't know who you are. And I
Hmm.
and he will give it. But you never disrespect him. Why can't everybody teach their kids?
That's what I was taught.
Don't say about
That's what I was taught. Because you, well, I can tell you, I can tell you this. Yeah, I can tell you this, Bart. I've had guns pulled on me 12 times by cops on traffic stops. We're not talking about a B&E. We're not talking about a criminal act. We're talking about traffic stop. Okay, Johnny. Yeah, 12 times. Now, hey, J.C. Watts had 8 cops pull guns on him at one time and pull him over in a small town that he's known in and point guns at him. Wait a minute. This is J.C. Watts, uh, Oklahoma University quarterback, famous guy. Famous guy. Only black Republican congressman for 8 years. That kind of. Everybody knows JC, right? Knows JC as a preacher, a man of God, truly a politician who was a man of God. And this is how they treat JC Watts. How can I expect to be treated any different? You know. So go ahead. I did because
when they were born,
well, we would. Hey, it's true. They don't get it. Now, check this out. Check this out, Bart. I'm talking to a buddy of mine today over at our club, and we were talking about we were just talking about the teacher strike and what's going on with the teacher strike, and where everybody's on the same page with this teacher strike. It's like these teachers are being paid. They're the highest paid teachers in the the country. Some of the highest paid teachers. We can debate. Some people say, well, it's highly. I don't care. We can all agree that there's some of the highest paid teachers in the country. That's a fact. But they have some of the lowest test scores in the country as a school system. So you go, well, what's the problem? And they will tell you what they do. You say, well, why are we paying you all this money? And the first thing they will say is, well, we have to be parents to the children, and then we have to be sociologists and psychologists, and we have to feed the children. See, these children in Chicago public schools, they get 3 meals a day at school. They get breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Breakfast, you hear me? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Because their mothers are too sloven, I'm using the term sloven, look it up, to feed their damn children and send them out of the house with a warm meal in their damn stomachs. I don't know what is wrong with these people, but this is a school system that is totally out of control. See, but nobody's talking about that. So these teachers who are on strike now, Bart, are demanding affordable housing or a stipend for affordable housing. That's in their demand. A hundred. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. uh, Bart, Hey, so Bart, where'd you grow up, man? I know Bakersfield. I know Bakersfield well. High desert country. High desert. People have no idea how tough Bakersfield is. I mean, Bakersfield was a real blue collar town.
When I was coming up in the 60s and 70s, when I had black hair, my white friends, kind of looked at me.
Uh-huh.
Some of them called me in.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
When I left in the 70s, the population was 70 or 80,000.
Mhm.
It had been forever. And I came back after 7 years. And after going to school, I came back in the mid 80s. Like 250,000. Now I think it's maybe 70.
Yeah, well, everybody ran out of LA. Yeah, everybody ran out of LA and they ran up to Bakersfield. At first, they went out to Pomona and Riverside. And then the gangs followed them out. The gangs followed them to Riverside and Pomona. So then those people moved up to Bakersfield and the gangs tried to come up to Bakersfield. And guess what? The cops said, no, we're the gang up here. The cops are like, we're the gang up here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No question. Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. They're like, they're like, right. They're like, this is our territory. You don't get it. You have no territory. Now, this is what one of the things that gets me, like especially when you go into urban areas and gangs are declaring that they have territory. Doesn't that sound like, could we transpose gang member or gang leader with warlord, tribal leader? Could we use those words synonymously and destroy these I call them urban terrorists. That's a word that I coined a long time ago, back in '94, actually. But urban terrorists, they need to be taken out. Right. Mm-hmm.
And so when a cop goes and arrests somebody, the guy resists arrest, the cop gun, the guy gets shot because he's trying to steal a police gun. The so-called leaders in the community stir up riots and have their own police.
Well, you're right. Exactly. Exactly. Yep. Yep. You know. Uh-huh. Well, well, see, but here in Chicago, we have a corrupt police force. I don't know about Baltimore, but I can certainly tell you that cops are on the take here in Chicago, just like they used to be in New York. I'm sure it's a lot less than it used to be in New York because of Giuliani and some of the other folks that have worked there. I'm sure they're back to the graft is not as prevalent as it used to be under de Blasio, but I think NYPD really cleaned itself up under Chief Bratton and some other folks. But here in Chicago, the patrol cops, the guy down here with the people, they're not policing. They're not policing. And I used to say, as you pointed out, well, yeah, I mean, but think about it. These gang members couldn't, the city, the mayor had allowed gang members to control whole communities. How does that happen? You got to tell me, here in Chicago, they treat gang members and gang leaders like they're uh, politicians, like they're part of the community, like they have a say in the community. Instead of going out, see, it's very simple to me. Here in Chicago, this is one of the few cities that decided it was going to eliminate the Black Panther Party because what? It got in the way of business as usual, kind of like Donald Trump. You know, here's some guys and here's some men and women who came into the community and said, guess what? We're going to stop the killing. We're going to stop the pimping. We're going to stop the drugs. And if you continue to do drugs and pimping in the community, you're going to have to deal with us. The hell with the cops. Who did the cops go after? They went after Black Panther Party. They didn't go after the Bloods and Crips. They didn't go after the Peace Stone Nation. They didn't go after the Blackstone Rangers. No, they went after a group that was not a criminal group. It was a political group. It was a community self-help group. But they would, those criminal gangs are still controlling those communities today. And the question is, in America, why do we have gangs who are controlling anything?
Yeah, they should be
eradicated. If we're doing it in, well, but Bart, if we can go into Mosul and Fallujah and Islamabad and take out gangs, how come we can't take out gangs right here? It's exactly. No question. No question. So why? Yep. So why are we putting? So why are we putting Black criminals back into Black neighborhoods with law-abiding citizens? To keep up the chaos. Anyway, but hey, man, I am so glad though that President Trump got his award yesterday from Bennett College. I thought that was very poignant of them. It was the Criminal Justice Forum. And Kamala Harris just lied on the president, and she lied on the president, and she continued to lie on the president about his criminal justice record and about being racist. I am so tired. Whenever I hear people call President Trump racist, I say, give me an example. And they go, well, what about the Central Park slayings? I said, everyone thought those kids did it at the time they did it. And it was a very heinous crime. He reacted emotionally like I reacted. I felt the same way. That could have been me. That could have been my girlfriend. That could have been my wife who these kids had done that to. That's what the cops blamed them. We didn't know the cops were lying. We didn't know the cops had framed these kids. They go, well, what about his record on housing and excluding Blacks from housing? I said, he was in a class action suit because all of the apartment owners in Manhattan were barring Blacks from living in their apartments. Now we have to understand the time. We need to understand that I think we as Americans, as Black Americans, it's really interesting that people have this groupthink in Black America. And as if you don't think ghetto, if you don't subscribe or ascribe to the ghetto way of life and the ghetto doctrine, then you're not Black. This is all, the aftermath of the civil rights movement. Rosa Parks wasn't ghetto. Rosa Parks wasn't on welfare. Martin Luther King wasn't a shucking, jiving, chicken-eating Negro preacher. He was a well-spoken PhD from Morehouse College. He wasn't an Al Sharpton with his hair slicked back, looking like a damn pimp. He was an articulate man of God. Anyway, don't get me started, Bart. You know? Yep. Mm-hmm. 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 Uh, uh, uh. It doesn't. And you know, I had a friend of mine who worked for Reagan, as a matter of fact, as an assistant secretary. He said he called me a plantation Negro because I said the things that I had said earlier about Elijah Cummings. And he said, I don't understand how you can love Donald Trump and hate Barack Obama. I said, then obviously you haven't been listening the last 10 years that we've been talking about Barack Obama. Hey, look, it's the end of our segment on Red State anyway. Red State, we stop at 2 o'clock. And I'm so sorry that we got started so late. We're going to have to do this. We're going to have to do this again, man, because this was fun. This was really interesting. And well, no, thank you, man. Okay, appreciate it, Bart. Okay, bye-bye. Okay, so look, we're still out here broadcasting on YouTube. It says Uncle Mike Pimero. Hey, Charles. Let's see, who is this? Perot. Let's see, Andrew. Can't hear the caller. Uh-oh, sorry about that. Couldn't hear the caller. Doggone it. I can't believe that. I don't know why we couldn't hear the caller. Why we couldn't hear the caller? Why couldn't we hear the caller? Oh, guys, I'm sorry. I hope I changed that. I hope we changed that. I hope. Let's see. I hope I changed it so that you could hear the caller. But I'll get it right. I'll have it right tomorrow. That's for sure. Hey, so just out here, just doing a couple of things. Hopefully, we'll swing back around tomorrow. We're off Red State. We're still broadcasting out on YouTube and Facebook, streaming live. We're gonna cut it, and we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Let's see, reply. Let's see, reply. Reply to Andrew. Hope to fix it. If we didn't fix it, we'll hope to fix it tomorrow. Let's see. I don't know how I can monitor that, but we'll fix it. Anyway, guys, look. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. Spread the word. We're gonna have a rip roaring good time going into the new year. So hang in there with me, okay? Take care. I'm going to maybe I can lead out of here with a little music. Let's see if we can play something in the show here. Let's see. Dun. Here we go. Nope, it's not playing. Don't know why. Anyway, Take care, guys.